Oh. That ending gets me every time. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin, I'm a geek. You're watching Kevin the Geek. And we're finally here. It's the finale of Season 1 of Ted Lasso. The Hope That Kills You. We're getting closer to the Season 3 release as well. I'm so excited for that. There's a lot to talk about, so let's crack on with it straight away. So the episode starts off with Nate coming into work, but his work's already done. There's someone new. And he gets very frustrated very quickly and quite angry in a way, which, if you've been paying attention, is not an uncharacteristic trait for Nathan. But it's all with a good intention. Ted and Higgins, they basically kind of play a bit of a prank on Nate. Because basically, Nate has done so well, and he's getting rewarded. And he's getting made a coach himself. He's getting promoted. And the first thing of note, when Rebecca comes in, Nate actually kind of snipes at her and says, "You shrew, you're getting me fired." And she says, "Why so hostile, Nathan?" And this stops him. Because up until this point, she's not known his name. Like, even back in the episode with the gala, Nate said to Rebecca, "Lovely to see you again." And she said to him, "Nice to meet you." So, even though he's worked for the football club for many years, at least, Rebecca still didn't know who he was. And so this is a massive moment that he is being recognised. Then the screens come up, and then all the team are there, and they're cheering, and he's been made a coach, and it's just a wonderful, heartfelt moment, and it feels really deserved for the character. I love the moment that Coach and Ted are walking towards him, going, "Oh," to present the whistle to him as like a symbol. But if you look closely, and it's taken me probably about 5 watches of this episode before I finally noticed that the box that the whistle is in, it's one of Nate's suggestion boxes that he made back in, episode 2, whatever it was. And that's just, again, such a touchy moment. It shows the impact that he's had on the team. And I love that. And Nate makes a joke, which I think for the first time actually kind of is kind of got by people.
"Nathan Shelley, I present to you this whistle, but it is sad. Do you know why?
No.
Because it has never been blown."
Is that the same reason why Colin's sad?
So it just shows that Nate is just developing as a character. And I love this. It feels deserved, like I said. Now, of course, this episode all builds up and heavily features the final match of the season, which is against Man City and Jamie Tart coming back to play against his former club. 2 things I do kind of need to highlight that, for me as a football fan, frustrates me watching this episode. First of all, the game is shown to be a nighttime match, which is not the case. The final game of the season is always on a Sunday, and it's around about 4 o'clock. And you've got to remember, this is in May that this season ends. So for it to be a nighttime pitch, they would have to be playing at like 9, 10 o'clock at night. It's just a little thing, but it bugs me, because I pay attention to all these little details. The other thing that really bugs me is the whole situation about how they're going to stay up or go down because of the points and everything. Now, what they're basically saying is an impossibility, and it's racked my brains for so long to try and work it out. Because basically, they're saying if Richmond win, they're up. If they lose, they're down. Okay? Which in a normal sense sounds normal. But they're also saying that they will also stay up if they draw and the other team basically lose by 6 goals, by 6-0. Okay. So that basically means that Richmond are a point behind the team above them. That's the only way that that draw situation can make any sense. Because if they were level on points, a draw regardless would put them up as long as the other one don't lose. So the way it works, like when you put it into that perspective that they're a point behind, even if they win, that would put them 2 points ahead. If the other team win also, then they will still go up. So a win doesn't automatically guarantee that they are going to go up. So, like I said, it's a nitpicky thing, but as a fan of football, that just really kind of scrambled my brains and just made things very complicated. So, but the whole focus with the match, of course, is the fact that it is Jamie coming back. And I like the fact that, Jamie kind of wants to not so much make amends, but he wants to kind of speak with Keeley and try and clear his head a little bit. Which, of course, leads to this great little dynamic between them when all three of them are sat at the table, Keeley, Roy, and Jamie. And, ends with this amazing little exchange, which I love.
Look, Keeley, when you're done feeding mushy peas to this old fart, then you give me a call. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Enjoy the view from the bench.
What?
Well, now I want mushy peas.
Now, Ted goes through with the team and tries to develop these kind of trick plays, or as the Brits call them, elaborate set pieces, to try and cause a bit of chaos, to try and find a way of beating Man City. Because in reality, it would be very difficult to beat Manchester City. My only criticism is I don't think that we really got to see many of the trick plays in action. We saw the Sandman and we saw the Lasso Special, but they were the only two. So in future, I would maybe like to see some of these come back in. So I think that would add a real interesting dynamic to the little football scenes. But then we get into the match itself. And I think, again, all the emotion all stems around Richmond, as it should, because of course, as a viewer, we are actively rooting for Richmond because it's the team that we've been following all season. It gets to half time and it's 0-0. Then second half, Ted brings on Roy Kent. And of course, this is against the coach's better judgments because Roy is slow because of his age. But Manchester City managed to take the lead through a penalty, and then Roy gets injured. Jamie Tartt goes on a run, and Roy, despite his lack of speed, manages to catch up to him and makes a tackle to get rid of the ball, but in doing so, really injures his knee. And it's such a bad one that it ends his career. And all the fears I think that Roy had in the last episode now sort of kind of ring home. There's a lovely moment when he's on the floor and he's going to get up, but Sam kind of stops him because the crowd are chanting the song that they've sung about him all throughout his career. And that allows Roy to go off the pitch and end his career with his head held high. He is really loved and really appreciated. And that's a good moment for him. But as soon as he's back in that locker room, he has to face the harsh realities that his career is over. And it just has this wonderful emotional scene with not a lot of talking as Keeley comes in. So that's a beautiful little moment. But back to the match. Man City are 1-0 up. And then all of a sudden, as it would in a football stadium, in these things, people are constantly listening to radios or checking their phones. They're checking other results to make sure that things go their way. And they find out that the team that is directly competing against the drop have lost 6-0. Which means all Richmond need is a draw. And they managed to get it through doing the Lasso Special, one of these trick plays that they've come up with. And I really like it. The fact that they do this whole sort of American football thing is quite cool, quite different. However, in reality, I don't feel that it probably would have Because they're all, like, all the Manchester City players are basically surrounding the referee, complaining that a free kick has been given. And they're so high up on the pitch, they're literally on the halfway line. So in reality, would that have happened? You might have had a few players complaining, but most of them would have been in normal positions. But if they just dropped back, I don't think the Lasso Special would have worked. It did, and I was delighted for it. And I'm there with all of them. They're cheering. They're so happy they've got the draw that they needed. They're going to stay up. But we know in football it's never as simple as that. And you're most vulnerable when you've just scored. And Man City get a goal right from the kickoff. And it comes from Jamie making the extra pass. The fact that Ted was constantly trying to drill into him. And so, in a way, Ted is almost the downfall for himself. And to be honest, it is just like football in real life. You experience the highs and the euphorias, and so quickly it can just be snatched away from you in a moment. I feel just as heartbroken in that moment as I did when England lost the Euro 2020 final to Italy on penalties. You know, that was a moment when I might have seen England win a tournament for the first time in my lifetime. And it just got snatched away from them in a cruel twist of blows. And I feel that same level of emotion. And it's really weird to feel that for a TV show. But it's because the writing is so good. You feel those emotions. And Ted has to give a speech to the team, a post-team talk. And he does a good job. So he brings it back full circle. Asks Sam what the happiest animal on earth is. So all that scene is just beautifully done. And the playing of You'll Never Walk Alone underneath is, I think, really a good choice. Because of course, it came from a musical originally, but it has been adapted as a football song by Liverpool, because I believe it was Jerry and the Pacemakers. I think they did a cover of it, and so it's become like a Liverpool national anthem. So it's now become a footballing song, and so I think it was a good choice to have that song play. I think one of the hardest things to watch in this episode is actually the thing that happens afterwards. Because we knew from that episode to Aces the reason why he was so tough was because of his father. And here we see him for the first time. And obviously Jamie was talking about how he's talking about, being on him about his stats and scoring goals and how many minutes he played and all these kind of stuff. And the fact that Jamie has just helped his team win a match. Most people you'd think you'd be happy with that. But he's angry with him. So angry, like he's throwing things. Because it wasn't Jamie himself who scored. That just shows what a nasty piece of work his father really is. I think, again, my only criticism with the match aspect is how there was so much riding on Richmond, yet, like, how the Man City players were berating the ref for giving away a free kick, and then the urgency for them to get forward to score a goal. I wish they'd almost made a point of it being almost like the kind of match that if Man City win the match, they win the title. Because I think that would have given more of an emotional impact and more of a sense as to why Man City were acting in the way that they did. Maybe that was the situation and it was just sort of implied. But I think just a little mention of that in the commentary, it would have just given that a little bit more of an emotional weight there. And, of course, at the end of the episode, I think they subtly hinted and made it it was a bit of a red herring, but it made it look like Ted actually might get fired and he might lose his job, with the way that Rebecca is when he first walks into the office. But it just goes to show that Rebecca is over trying to destroy the club. And she wants to make amends with Ted. And she wants him to help make the team better again. And get them promoted. And as Ted says it himself.
So the next year we get ourselves a promotion, which looks good on any resume. Then we come back to this league and we do something that no one believes we could ever do. Win the whole fucking thing.
Which does make you wonder, is that going to be something that happens in season 3? Maybe are they going to do like a title rivalry thing where it could be like Richmond against West Ham for the title and that be the whole kind of focus of the season? That'd be an interesting thing if they do that. I don't know if they will, but it'd be interesting. An amazing season finale. You know, highlighting the highs and the lows of football. And I think even if you're not a football fan, you can probably feel the emotion in this episode. But those are my thoughts. I loved it. What did you think? Please drop a comment down below. Make sure again that you subscribe to the channel. But there is basically a 3-part series of videos that I am planning to do. Again, I'm not sure when I'm going to release them. But it's all going to be focusing on Nate. So there'll be one episode which shows him during season 1, another that shows his arc in season 2, and then another one which will be about him in season 3. And I don't know if I should do the first one now that I've finished season 1, or if I should do basically all 3 of them together once we've finished season 3 as well. Again, if you have any thoughts, drop a comment down below. But for now, my name's Kevin, I'm a geek, and you have been watching Kevin the Geek. Goodbye.